Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So last week on my Wednesday video, if you don't know what I'm doing, so on a Monday I talk about sort of business related things, on a Wednesday I talk about life things that will help you anyway in life. So what I wanted to do for the next few weeks is to focus on money matters, so budgeting and what I do to help me stick to a budget. So last week I talked about the power of an emergency fund. So I really recommend that you go and check that video out. I will leave the link to the Money Series playlist in the description below. So today what I want to talk about is how I manage my money on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Okay, so I've got a list of things that I want to cover with you today, and so if I keep looking down, that's why I'm looking at my list, because I don't want to miss anything. So for my monthly budget, I work on having £200. There's only two of us, so obviously if you've got a bigger family, then definitely take that into account. And also I have to buy Indy his food as well, my dog Indy. So I have £50 a week for 4 weeks, and then on the fifth week, if we go into a fifth week, I basically have to use things up, or if I've had any money rolled over, then I can use that money. I also have money for other things as well. So other things would be things like, if I pop into a shop, my local town, or car parking, if I pop for a coffee or something, drink with a friend or my sisters or something like that. So what it's not is things like hairdressing, paying for Indy to go to the groomers. I'm pointing down here. Indy's sat on the chair down here, fast asleep now. So it's not for things like going to the cinema or going for a meal out, because I put money aside for things like that in a different envelope. So this money, so I'm going to show you, I don't know if you can see it really, really clearly. So basically I do a line down the middle, divide it into 4, because I work on 4 weeks. Okay, so my fifth week is just a rollover week if we go into a fifth week. So for me, I work on groceries being £50. So some weeks they're more, and I have to pop and get some milk or some bread or something like that. Or I want to spend a bit more on things like meats and things like that. So I can take it out of this money, but I can't take it out of the next week's grocery money. It's okay, so I can borrow from over here, but not from down below, if that makes sense. So one thing I want to say is I'm really strict on my £50 budget for groceries, and if I have any other money, if I need any other money for groceries, so that's basically anything that I can buy from the supermarket. If I need any other money for groceries, it has to come out of my other money. So that means that I can't say, if I'm spending too much of my other money, I can't say to my sisters when she phones up, hey, do you want to go to the garden centre and have a little snack and a drink there? I have to look, can I afford that? Because I don't count those sorts of eating out as, if I was going out for a proper meal at a restaurant, I have a fund for that. But my little garden centre trips and things like that, which I really love, there's a lovely little cafe there and I really love that. And so that has to come out of my other money. So the more I spend on groceries, the less I get to do those little treat things, okay? So I want to explain this to you. So I found out about this system from a lady called Jordan Page, and she's got a really, really fab YouTube channel. And so I'll link that down below, because I want to give credit to her, because this is where I got this idea from. A lot of people do an envelope system where they have envelopes for everything, and I didn't find that worked for me particularly well. Having said that, I do envelopes for other things, which I'm just going to talk to you about a bit more after I finish with this bit. Okay, so in my other column. So as I said, I stick to a strict £50 here. If I spend over, it comes out of this money. But this money, my other money, I give myself £100 for the month, okay? And I do that in 2 ways. So I have a prepayment card, and I use Monzo, and I really love it. I'm not connected with it at all. I'm not getting paid for talking about Monzo at all, but I want to share it with you. It's definitely available here in the UK. I don't know where else it's available with. You'd have to sort of check it out, but I'm sure that wherever you live they will do something similar. So basically I pay money onto the card in advance. It's not a credit card, it's not a debit card, it's a prepayment card. I put the money on there in advance, so at the beginning of each month I make sure that there is £50 on that card, and I can use that pretty much for anything that I want. You know, as I say, if I have to use it for little trips to the supermarket for top-ups like milk and things like that. Like this morning I've been into my local supermarket and I get my big food delivery tomorrow, but we'd run out of milk, and you know, both my son and I have milk on our breakfast in the morning, so I just didn't want to be without any milk. So that went on my other payments. So I have £50 on my Monzo card, and the reason that I really like that is because it makes me accountable. So it's connected to an app, and I can see exactly where I've spent my money throughout the month, and I can, you know, get home, and I don't have to be faffing around with receipts, because I often lose receipts. I'm not very good at start keeping hold of receipts, but I can keep a track much more easily. You know, if it's 3 days later and I think, oh, you know, what did I spend at, you know, when I went to the supermarket on like 3 days ago, and I can see it there. So I know that throughout the month I have £50 to spend on that card on whatever I want, and that's fine. I then have the other 50 in cash in my purse, but the problem is with cash with me is I don't know where it goes. Okay, so I just know that if I've got £50 in cash, because some things do come up where you do have to pay cash, and that's fine. So I have my £50 in cash. So the next month, so let's say that's what I've done this month, and I'm starting completely from scratch. So the next month, if I still have £30 on my Monzo card, what I'll do is I'll top it up to 50. So that would be, what should I say? So if I had £30 on that, I'd top it up £20, and that would give me £80 of cash. So what I do then is I put £50 of that into my purse, and the rest of that money I put into my treat fund. So that money then pays for meals out, it pays for going to the cinema, days out, anything like that. And, you know, I found that I generally do, there are it's the odd week where I've just spent all of my money. I don't have anything else left. And so that's absolutely fine. Obviously, the amounts that you put into each category will vary depending on you. That's just the way that I like to work things, because I like to know when my money's gone. And if it's a big event, then I will have a separate envelope for it anyway. I hope all that's made sense. So basically, I have my grocery budget weekly, and I have my other money monthly, which I split between cash and my prepayment card, and the one that I use is Monzo. I will leave the link below. As I said, I'm not connected with this at all. I just really like it, so I wanted to let you guys know about it. And if they don't do it in your country, I'm sure they will do something else, but have one that is connected to an app so that you can actually see where the money's gone. Okay, so excuse me, sorry, I'm still full of cold. The next thing that I do is I have set things that I want to save for. So I have my treats envelope that I told you about. That's where any extra money goes. But I have different things. I either have cash envelopes for things that I know I'm going to need cash for. So my hairdresser comes here to the house to do my hair and my son's hair. and we pay her in cash, and I need to have that money. So at the beginning of the month, I check how much money do I need for haircuts this month. I put that in an envelope so that it's there. If Indy's going to the groomers or to the vets, I put a certain amount each month into an envelope for him, because I like to pay that in cash as well. I have a couple of other things that I do put money in for cash at home, but not many. I prefer to create savings accounts for specific things. So let me just run through the things that I either have a cash envelope for or a savings account for. So I have an emergency fund, which is what I talked about before, and that is in my savings account. I have a car fund, because at some stage my car is going to need replacing or sorry, I didn't say that quite right. It's going to need replacing for definite, but it's also going to need repairs along the way as well. So I have a car fund, and that is, it just keeps building up. Have my hairdressing envelope for Indy, which I keep at home. I have Christmas, birthday, which I sort of do a bit of both with that, because I don't want to have too much money lying around at home, well, in my envelopes at home. So I do have a little bit at home, and I also have a savings account for that one. I have a one-off payments account. So this is what this one's for. So over the last few years, what I've done is I've tried to make sure that when an insurance is due, so when Indy's pet insurance is due, I've made sure that I can pay for it in full rather than paying for it monthly, because you end up paying more if you pay for it monthly. And my car insurance, my house insurance, life insurance, that sort of thing. Also my MOT and my car service come out of that as well. So rather than paying them monthly, I set up a direct debit so that every month a certain amount of money goes into that account, so that I know that when anything like that comes up, I've got the money there for it already. So that's a really, really, I would say, savings account wise, definitely your emergency fund, definitely your one-off payments fund as well. A holiday fund, or little short breaks, that sort of thing, or big holidays. I decide what I want to do and sort of save accordingly for that one. And then I have my treats envelope that I talked about. If there's any money that I don't spend on my weekly budget or monthly budget, that can roll over and that can go into my treats fund. And that I just really like having that. And I think, when you're saving or when you're trying to get out of debt or anything like that, it's really important to still have those little treats that you can do. Otherwise, it just feels like never ending, and it's not nice. Okay, so that is basically what I do to manage my money on a weekly and monthly basis, and also more long term. At the beginning of the year, I know exactly what one-off payments that I have, so that will come out of that account. And I've got money set aside for, if anything unexpected happens in my emergency fund, and that just keeps growing and growing and growing. My intention with the emergency fund is to make that eventually where I've got eventually 6 months living expenses in there. But my next goal, the goal that I'm working on at the moment, is to get to 3 months living expenses. So that's something that I really advise you to do. Anything that I've talked about that I can link to, like the Monzo card, the rest of this money management series, I'll put a link to that. I'll also put a link to Jordan Page that I wanted to link to, because she was the person that I got this idea from, and this works for me much better than having loads and loads of individual envelopes, because I just ended up taking from one and the other. It didn't work for me, so I really like this idea. This works perfectly for me. Okay, so I have done it slightly different. So look at her idea, look at my idea, and choose what works for you. That is the key. You've got to find a system that really works for you. And if it doesn't, if thousands of other people, if it works for them but you struggle with it, then it's probably not right for you. You just need to probably adjust it a little bit. So guys, that is what I do. I would love to hear what's been working for you, what you struggle with, any other tips that you can share. Go ahead and leave them below, because I have not always been good with money. In fact, it's only been in the last probably 3 years that I've really got a handle on my money situation. So definitely any tips that you can share below, then go ahead and share them. Please don't spam, don't put links to your own services and things like that. That's not helpful. But any sort of genuine tips, please go ahead and leave them in the comments below, because it helps everybody out, including me. Please give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful. I hope it's all made sense to you, and I will be back on Monday with a business video and next Wednesday with a lifestyle video. Okay, I'll see you guys then. Bye.